All right, welcome back everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas and this is Investing Against the Grain. We have a big day tomorrow. All right, tomorrow we're going to get CPI results. So CPI, for those of you who don't know, Consumer Price Index. This is essentially how we get a gauge of what inflation is with the greater economy. All right, now this is a very big print. Okay, this is going to be a very important print, because this will be potentially the second month that we've seen inflation heading the right direction. In other words, from up here and to start coming back down. So we sold last month in August, which was a CPI report, inflation report from July, and now we're going to be in September, as we are now, obviously, and we're going to be looking at inflation results from August. So keep in mind, CPI is a lagging indicator, but it is something that the Fed and the broader, macro market takes a look at. So what does this mean, especially for Tesla stock? Okay, so TSLA will essentially do the same thing that the rest of the market is going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, there's pretty much no chance of Tesla doing anything other than whatever CPI ends up coming out as. So if CPI comes softer, lighter, colder, however you want to say it, than we expect, it's going to be good news. If it becomes hotter than we expected, so anything, really anything over 8, then, well, the market's not going to like that. It's probably going to react pretty violently. Either way, it's a very binary day tomorrow. It's either up or down, and it's all going to be based off of CPI. Now, this is kind of a weird situation of being with CPI, because on the one hand, let's say it's cooler, right? Maybe we print a 7.8, 7.7 type number. Okay, so in other words, we get a decline, right? I think right now the prediction is about negative 0.1, but let's say we get negative 0.2, negative 0.3, okay? If we do better than what we thought we were going to do. Well, the truth is, that's not going to probably make any changes or affect the Fed in any way. The Fed is probably going to still continue with their 75 basis point that the market's pretty much 90% already baked in. Right? I would say the market in general has baked in a 4% Fed funds rate for the rest of the year and into next year at this point as well. So why is tomorrow important? Well, tomorrow is important because it's more about the bigger picture of things. At this point, forget about the Fed. In my opinion, everything with the Fed is kind of baked in already. We know what they're going to do. We know where they want to get to. So that's kind of like on the side at this point. I really don't think we'll see much movement just due to the Fed raising rates in September or the next two, right? Which will probably be another 50 and another 25 in December. But instead, the reason this is big is because this would at least show us that inflation's coming down. Now, there's a lot of lagging indicators, and there's more work to be done, especially going into the future, because right now, keep in mind, we are probably really seeing an improvement on inflation, much because oil, WTI, Brent is coming down, okay? We see these lower prices from where we were back in the summer. Now, a lot of this is potentially artificial. What do I mean by that? Well, don't forget, we've been releasing from our strategic supply about 1 million barrels a day. I believe that's what it is at this point. And on top of that, China, with all of their COVID lockdowns, they've really suppressed all the demand that they've had. If the Chinese start to open back up and move away from the zero COVID policy, which may happen in October after they have some political event, party, things to do with Xi Jinping and all that, if that happens post, and on top of that, right at the same time as we stop releasing from our strategic supply, well, this will take a big supply out of the market. And on top of that, it'll also increase China's demand and the amount that they're taking out of the oil supply in the market. So that could change things really quickly. Now, the thing that we could potentially feel confident about is the fact that we are seeing some more and more noticeably weaker and softer demand or price action, at least within the housing market. We're seeing a crazy decrease in refinances. We're seeing smaller and smaller purchases, month over month, year over year. And although we still see, record numbers here and there from many different aspects, we are starting to see the housing market cool off. And that's a very good thing. We haven't seen rents come down yet, which is going to be key. And the reason it's key is because you have to understand CPI, the number we're going to see tomorrow, it's got about a 30 to 40% weight of just housing. And the thing is, all the houses that are sold aren't really factored into it. So it's more so rent based. Houses that are sold, what they do is they essentially take a rent equivalent of it. It's kind of complicated. I don't get too much into it, but essentially they take a rent equivalent of it, and that's what they base the CPI on. But anyways, housing has such a big weight on it, from rent to things sold. So until we really see meaningful declining in rental prices out there, we're gonna see CPI just struggle to come down. But we are starting to see weakness in the market, and housing always lags everything. In fact, the interest rate hikes that the Fed are doing, that always takes about 9 months to really take hold in an economy. So for all we know, we may be snowballing into something and we don't even know what's going to happen come next year. But we'll have to see where this gets us. In the meantime, tomorrow, the big thing is just to make sure that inflation's at least coming down. We don't want to see any peaks. We don't want to see any new highs. We don't want to see a 9.2 or any kind of crazy number like that. We want to see the trajectory, the trend coming down. And we'll deal with other things as they come. We'll deal with oil and what's happening with Europe, Ukraine. You deal with that as it comes. Right now, we focus on tomorrow. Tomorrow, we need a good number. Okay. Now, as far as Tesla goes, after tomorrow, I think Tesla should have some pretty clear tailwinds into really the rest of the year. The only hiccups I see would be future CPI, PCE, and potentially oil pricing or housing prices really, messing with Tesla. Other than that, right? That's like everything at this point. But Tesla really doesn't have any big headwinds coming up, right? Now we're going to start to see tailwinds. Like, let's say tomorrow is a good print. Okay, the market's going to rally. All right, that's great. Then we get to the Fed. They're going to do their 75 basis point. The market's already expecting that. Maybe you see a little bit of a sell-off that day just because they did it, or the next day, which tends to be the case. Okay, who cares? We all knew it. It's already baked in. But then we have Tesla AI Day, and that's going to be crazy. Now, a lot of people tend to sell the news with these types of events, but hey, we might see a run up to it. And even if we see a run up to it and, maybe we get back to the old, to like 315, 320, maybe 330, who knows? If it sells off a little bit there, who cares? At least we were able to make some meaningful progress. But there's always that chance that AI Day really opens up people's minds about what's happening here, what could be. I was also watching Yashu's not live stream, but his video today, and he brought up a very good point. There's also window dressing. All right, so window dressing, essentially when a lot of portfolio managers, hedge fund managers, they try to I don't know how else to say it. They put window dressing on their results and how they're doing. Right. So Tesla is a great company to do that with, especially going into the end of the year. Right. Tesla historically does really well into the back half of the year. And so a lot of companies, a lot of hedge fund managers, a lot of portfolio managers might be coming into Tesla just for that window dressing effect to make themselves look better than what the previous or the rest of the year has been. All right. So that's going to be a big thing to keep an eye out for. Now, we also have some other crazy news talking about tailwinds as we see Troy Tesla increase his expectations for Tesla deliveries this quarter for Q3. I think he's up to 370,000 vehicles is his prediction. We keep seeing consensus analyst numbers come down. I think it's down to about 355,000. This is a big delta between these two. And not to say that us bulls or Tesla fans or, whatever you want to call us, whatever the naysayers may say, call us whatever you will. What you can't argue with is Troy Tesla's consistency and ability to hit this number spot on time after time after time again. Contrast that to analysts who have been wrong time and time and time again. So when you look at the two and you think 355 or 370, well, my money is going to be over here with Troy and his predictions. So that's another big tailwind that we have. And the reason that's so big coming up is because right after AI Day, let's just play Uber Bull here. Let's say Tesla reveals something that makes the market excited for Tesla, invigorated for Tesla, thirsting to get into the stock. Let's say that happens. And then a couple of days later, they print a 370,000, maybe 380,000 delivery number. Wow. That is going to send the stock, in my opinion, past the 330s, right? Or which would be 333. So the old 1,000. I think we'll be into the 1000s at that point. Again, pre-split or pre-split, yeah. So lots of tailwinds going in there, and then you have obviously your earnings and all that good stuff. So I think for Tesla, we have a good trajectory here. And a lot of times when it comes to Tesla, right, there's a lot of headwinds you potentially see out there, with supply chains, batteries, chips, you can go on and on. But something very interesting and notable just got released. So take a look at this. I'm going to share my screen here. Here you see Sawyer Merritt. He writes, news, Goldman Sachs analyst Mark Delaney reiterated a buy rating and $333 price target on Tesla after Martin Viecha, Tesla's VP of Investor Relations, presented at the Communacopia Plus Technology Conference. I butchered all of that. Anyways, what really matters here? Well, let's scroll down here. So what happened really was, let me scroll a little more. We see right here, breaking. Tesla, for the first time in years, has access to all the battery cells it needs, says Martin Viecha. Tesla uses 90% of its cell supply for EVs and 10% for energy storage products, he said. For the first time I can remember, we can access all the supply we need for both. All right, just think about that. For the first time in a long time, they have all the batteries. All right, this is what Tesla Investor Relations is saying to Goldman Sachs, that we have all the batteries we need for our vehicles and for our storage side. So this explains a lot why we're seeing all of the storage ramp up. It explains a lot why we're seeing all of these crazy numbers at a Giga Shanghai. And if that's happening at a Giga Shanghai, what does that mean for Austin? What's that mean for Berlin? What does that mean for Fremont? Right? This could be a crazy, crazy quarter, especially when you add in the energy component of it. On top of that, just the fact that they feel this confident about their battery supply situation, it gives a lot of optimism for the rest of the year. So this whole video is really just about getting you guys prepared for tomorrow. Now, so we've talked about the positive. Okay, what's the other side of it? What if CPI comes in worse than expected? Well, I think you're probably going to see a pretty massive sell-off if that happens. So be prepared for that in whatever way you do. Maybe you do nothing. Maybe you only own shares. You only think about the long term, as I do. Then you're good. It's not a big deal. But it's at least good to be aware of what's going on in the markets. On the other hand, let's say that you have a lot of options, a lot of risky investments going on. Do what you need to do to protect yourself. Do you need to take some, well, I guess it's too late to take gains at this point, but maybe you want to go in there if there's a sell-off, buy something to hedge it, do whatever you do to protect yourself. But just be aware of what tomorrow is. And on the bigger scheme of things, just be aware that tomorrow, if we do get a good number, that means that inflation is still coming down. If we don't, it means it's going up. So I just want to make this video just to kind of shed light on what tomorrow is, how tomorrow is important, how next week I don't think the Fed meeting is important, and on top of that, how after we get past tomorrow, good, bad, or indifferent, we should see a nice tailwind for Tesla moving forward. And every day that it doesn't pop is another day, in my opinion, that Tesla's coiling for a bigger and bigger breakout. I know we're in a crazy times. We've got everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. We have everything going on with the energy crisis over in Europe. Hell, California has its own energy crisis right now. We see what's going on with China with the zero COVID lockdowns. We see what's happening with India buying Russian oil. I mean, the whole world is kind of crazy right now. A lot crazier than we've probably seen in a long time. And it's crazy because we just had a pandemic not too long ago, right? But the point is, even with all that going on, Tesla's still doing this well. Not only are they doing this well from a stock price, but they're executing this well. So the real question is, what happens when we get back to some sense of normalcy? It's exciting times ahead. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying invested. I'm not going to recommend anything. I would say that is what I'm doing. None of this financial advice. All right, we're going to leave it there. Again, we'll talk tomorrow. We'll see what happens, and we'll break it all down. Good luck. Stay safe. And I'm going to go cook a steak. Love you all. Peace.